मेरा नाम अविनाश सिंह राठौड़ है, पर आप सबके लिए मैं टाइगर हूँ.
Every soldier in this movie can't shoot a gun.
He makes C4 out of his buttons.
Oh my god!
जब तक टाइगर मरा नहीं, तब तक टाइगर हारा नहीं. I am the most complete fighter in the world.
Yippee-ki-yay,
You can call it the art of fighting without fighting.
Stick around. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Dodge this.
Yes! Welcome to Dodge This, Action Movies Unleashed. It's season 3. It's episode 5. It's another movie with a number in the title. It's Tiger 3, the Bollywood mega actioner franchise universe explosions.
More words, please.
Words. You may have already heard her voice, and you may already recognize that voice, because in what is becoming something of a tradition, I am joined by Bollywood and Indian actioner mega fan himself, all the way from Amsterdam. It's Emil Struijker. You have to say his middle name, Boudier.
He's back.
He's
back. Okay. So mega fan kind of implies that I know a lot, which I do not.
No, that's true. But hey,
But
no
I am a big fan of the
spoilers,
genre.
listeners. We might have a little extra treat coming up for you later to inject some of our nascent fandom with a bit of background and cultural perspective, perhaps. That feels... I mean, it will probably say in the title that there's someone else, so it doesn't feel that like you can really tease it that much. It's not like you know someone unexpected appearing halfway through.
That surprises
for example.
No, which you should do if we are talking about Indian cinema, because they do that all the time, where somebody just shows up out of nowhere without any explanation and then just leaves.
Then this feels perfectly fitting.
And some of my favorite moments. Yeah, in the middle of a song, and then just somebody shows up and you Google it, like, oh, that was a director he once worked with.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Can't guarantee that doesn't happen in Tiger 3, if I'm honest. The director could be in there. I don't know what he looks like. There's so much research outside of the standard stuff. Anyway, Emil, it's been all of 3 episodes since last you joined us. Have you watched a movie since last time we spoke?
So no
movies.
I'm trying to remember if this was before or after Jawan. I watched A Haunting in Venice, which was, as our mutual friend Simon Lucas likes to say, aggressively adequate. I mean, he likes to say that just about movies,
right.
That he thinks are aggressively adequate. But
I did hear it was fine.
It's fine.
I sort of want to get in. I like, detective movies, who done it. So I like the idea of these new Poirots.
12 Angry Men is my favorite movie, closely followed by RRR.
That has come up before.
Which are two wildly different movies. But 12 Angry Men is exactly everything I like about detective movies, about courtroom movies. It's that slow, methodical pacing of uncovering bits and pieces slowly to come to the truth, which is, in the case of 12 Angry Men, is like, we don't know, and that's the point. And that in The Haunting in Venice is sort of more like, oh, this is nice to put on a Sunday afternoon when you're at your grandparents or something. Like, yeah, you don't need to follow along. It's fine. Everybody's really trying to act their hearts out, but it's up against a very, mediocre script, I guess.
Did you watch the Orient Express reboot?
Yeah, which was, I think, in the, because I thought I really enjoyed, or not really enjoyed it. I thought I enjoyed that. I was like, well, enough that, to be fair, I watched it because I had to kill 2 hours.
What a review.
It wasn't I need to see that. Yeah, the trains were not going anywhere. And I missed out on Siegfried und Joy theater show that was happening in Amsterdam, but I was not there. Brokenhearted, because those guys are super fun. And A Haunting in Venice was not. But more recently than that, so I got my got a PlayStation 5 this year, and I've sort of been trying to catch up on games on that because I was like, oh, I haven't gamed in so long, and they can tell these long, stories within a game over the multitude of hours. So I think since last we spoke, I've gone through Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, wow. I think last time you were doing Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that was in preparation for Spider-Man 2, which just came out.
In preparation. Lovely.
Yeah, because it's like, this is going to be be
Sure.
And I only heard rave reviews about the first
universe, Spidey universe.
I mean, they're doing it, and they're doing it better than Marvel, like the movies at the minute, I think, where it's like, it's too many, too much, and yeah, we know everything is interconnected, but none of it makes sense to me anymore. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I've played Miles Morales, which is like the 1.5, and then Spider-Man 2 just came out, and then the both of them are in there. Look, if you're into long-term storytelling, video games sometimes is where it's at.
Fair play.
And clearly, I like long-term storytelling. I'm a big wrestling fan where sometimes there's years between, callbacks and rivalries and stuff like that.
So basically, don't watch any of Kenneth Branagh's Poirot's, but do get a PlayStation 5 and put in 10 to 20 hours, presumably, on one of these games.
if you're running through them.
Feels like your route is a little bit more expensive than the €5 rental would cost me on the Haunting.
100%. And hey, if it's a rainy day, go for Kenneth Branagh. No, go for Spider-Man 2. Put in the hours.
Will do.
It'll repay itself.
I actually haven't seen a lot either. However, do not own a PlayStation 5, but did in the run-up to ostensibly this podcast, but even if the podcast doesn't exist, the movie does, and I would have seen it. So I watched Tiger 2, aka Tiger Zinda Hai, which I have learned means Tiger is alive.
Yay!
Because I've also started taking Hindi lessons.
Hey, that's awesome.
For the new listener, I am in the Indian city of Mumbai since the beginning of this season. That's how we did it. I want to say each season I go to a different city, but not true for the first two.
No, you're like Queer Eye. You just move to a different city every season.
That's it. Next season, I'm going to New Orleans.
Woo!
They film a lot of movies there, so it would probably work out.
Why not? And it's
great.
the last season of Queer Eye, I think, is going to take place there. So,
hey, maybe we could do like one of those crossovers, a crossover episode where I turn up basically how I look on the podcast, because this is audio only. So like I haven't done my hair. I look like a piece of shit.
Hey,
and then Queer Eye turns up and sorts me out and does up my apartment, ideally. Anyway, I watched Tiger 2. I didn't like it as much as the first one, actually, I think. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. I think the first one caught me off guard a little bit because I went in thinking it would be big and overblown and silly, and it wasn't. It was actually relatively grounded compared to a lot of the sort of big Bollywood actioners that we've watched.
Yeah, and a lot of romance.
Yeah. And then Tiger 2 was sort of scaled it down a bit. Like it was a smaller story, there's these hostages and we have to liberate them, but we have to do it this sort of round the houses way where we have to go over here first and then here. But it didn't feel like it had the kind of Bondian, globe-trotting sort of glamour as the first one.
Right. Okay. I'm trying to remember now with the second one, because the second one features one of my all-time favorite moments, I believe, which is him painting his wife's portrait in the snow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has got the absolutely ludicrous introduction of him escaping from wolves on a snowboard. So you can't take that away from the movie. It starts very strong. I mean, at least in this movie, it's sort of seems relevant. The opening bit of action. I mean, that is just absolutely, insane.
By the end of it, it's really not. It's one of the things when we walked out. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Yeah. We'll get to it. Anyway, so I watched Tiger 2 in prep for Tiger 3. And also Tiger 2 is part of the Spy universe. So I feel like we're early enough that it's not like coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and being like, sorry, how many movies do I have to watch? This one, I'm like, I think I've got them all. I've got them all so far.
5?
5, I believe, yeah.
It's the Three Tigers, Baton, and War.
Correct. Hey, Emil.
Yes.
Do you want to watch some trailers?
Yeah, but only if we go to a trailer park. Thank you.
Okay, you're fired from the podcast. Welcome to the party, pal! So we've got three. I've made it a rule that there's three because I think the trailer bit goes on too long in this podcast, and that's really all I can do to rein it in. Less than three feels like not enough. I don't know why. Anyway, let's get into them. We got a couple that have been hanging around on my list of trailers I want to talk about, so they're not hot off the press, and one that is hot off the press. Let's start with Argylle, the upcoming movie from Matthew Vaughn, director of the Kingsman series.
Kingsman universe?
Everything's a universe now. Everything's a universe. This is a movie. Apple TV. Could it be a good action movie that goes straight to Apple TV? That's TBC. I think Ghosted is currently flying the flag for that at the moment, so not a huge amount to surmount. He's got good pedigree. It's very much that left field. Oh, it's a bit sort of loopy and crazy, but the action looks like it might be quite cool, visually striking.
I thought I've written down, well, not even with mine that the trailer bit takes too long, but I just wrote stellar cast with a sterile vibe.
Oh, okay, wow.
Well, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the Hollywood thing of we're going to put one song in the trailer and kind of show you a bunch of the cool shit that we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's just, it felt like, oh, this is the Lost City sibling. But without the charm, it felt like.
It seems like quite a fun concept. Like it's an author who writes a book, and then it turns out that somehow the book is, I mean, it's very high concept.
That is exactly what The Lost City is. And I'm sure there's other movies out there.
That's
both
true,
in
actually. It is, isn't it?
Past
it is,
and future.
Yeah. There is also a cat in this trailer that I'm not, that puts me on the side of, I don't know if I'm going to like a lot of sort of like cat humor. No, it just feels like it's very full on broad humor. Like there's a CG cat doing stuff that gets my hackles gets my hackles up. What is that phrase?
All the way up.
Something's up.
Cannot help you there.
And the cat has done it. Maybe I'm just allergic. I don't know. That feels like it's a little bit like, it's like those jokes in Kingsman about bum sex that when you watched it when you were young, you were like, very funny. And then you watch it now and you're like, wow, okay, not actually great, you guys.
It's something that's on the mind because there's a bunch of it in here, like jokes wise, and also in one of the other trailers. Everybody's just slightly too chill in the moment. You're like, oh, yeah, all right. I don't know if you should be saying that at this minute. And it's not like Spider-Man does it, and it works. But in a lot of cases, it feels like, are you just saying that because somebody felt we need a cool line here? And it doesn't really fit everything. Maybe that's, and I don't know if that's age or just having seen enough of it where you're like, all right, I think I'm kind of done with that, or if it's just terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will reserve judgment because I do enjoy Matthew Vaughn's visual flair sometimes. I did like the first Kingsman. I haven't seen the two sequels because people have been very up and down about them, and I've never known whether to hop in. But
there's a third one.
Yeah, the King's Man.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of homework to do. We don't have time. We got two more trailers. Next up,
second trailer.
It's 1%er.
Great trailer. Great trailer. Because it just teases. I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. This was a great, it teases the premise. And then before we get to see any of it unfold, it's credits on the trailer. Yeah. It's another good premise, I think. A dude who makes action movies turns into a real situation. It's Tak Sakaguchi, who was in Bad City last year. He was also in the movie Versus in the year 2000. Hello. Feels like a long time ago. He was in a movie called Reborn, which I still haven't seen, but it's on my list. He's very good at punching, kicking, stabbing people very fast. And I think he's going to do a lot of that in this movie. It's, again, the concept. I like the high conceptness of it. He's on an island, I think, making an action movie. He's very purist about
action or something. It's quite sort of meta and knowing, and then some baddies arrive, and presumably he has to beat them all up. It's a little bit sort of like there's two similar movies. Oh, one is called Night Shooters. It's a low budget UK indie movie. Probably haven't seen that. A lot of fun though. Nope. Where they're making a movie and then some baddies come. Also maybe like One Cut of the Dead, where they're making a movie and I believe zombies come. That sort of vibe in it.
Right.
I'm ready for it. I'm very ready for it.
I mean, again, they didn't show any of their cards really, except, hey, isn't this a cool concept? Again, and it is. There's plenty of great movies, including The Lost City.
I thought The Lost City was all right. I thought The Lost City was all right.
I genuinely loved The Lost City.
I think love is pushing it.
Look, Sandra Bullock can do no wrong. They're both charming as fuck.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
A very easy watch.
Where with Argyle, I was like, none of these people seem very charming at the moment. Like, and it's an incredible, like, there's so many
Sam
big
Rockwell,
star
though.
names.
He's a smooth.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta love him in everything.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. He will be the one reason why I'll watch that movie, probably.
Oh, right. All right, and then let's do one more trailer. God, I feel like I'm rattling through it, and yet somehow it's nearly 20 minutes into the show. Look at the time code on the podcast to see how much I've cut out. Now that'll be a good indicator. 18 minutes. That's how long we've been recording. Okay, final one. It caused seemingly, there was quite polarized reactions to this online this week.
Really? Okay.
Madame Web. For me, someone whose finger is not on the pulse of comic books or comic book movies, this came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I quite liked the look of it, actually.
So me too.
I really like movies where people die and get another go, right?
A time loop is a very fun concept, but it's hard to pull off.
Yeah, true.
So I was really hyped until the moment they make the dad joke about seeing into the future, which really put a dent in my excitement, where she confesses, "Oh, I can see into the future," and her friend throws a rock at her that hits her. I'm like, "Well, I didn't see that coming." I was like, "Oh boy,
that one."
If that is the humor
classic
level, then we're in trouble.
If there's a cat in a rucksack in this movie, I don't know if I'm into it.
But there's so many great movies with that. Obviously Groundhog Day, but there's also the Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Who was it?
Yes.
Source Code. Yes.
Source Code.
Great. Fantastic.
And Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Banger.
Also fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's especially when they focus on the story, not so much on the time traveling, it can work out great.
Well, my question is, this is a Sony movie, right? So is this is technically one of their, we have to make a Spider-Man movie every X amount of years, otherwise we lose the rights to Spider-Man. I don't know how this ties in to the actual phase 4. We're in phase 4 now, right, of the MCU?
I believe so. Yeah.
I don't know if it's part of that. Don't know if any of those lot show up. There was no tease in the trailer of anyone we recognized, right?
No.
Am I right in saying that?
No, yeah. Not as far as I know, but I've missed, I think, all of this.
I haven't seen any of phase 4 or a lot of the TV shows. So that is potentially an issue.
Although I think I will watch Loki now that everybody's very excited about that.
I watched season 1 and I thought it was diminishing returns. Anyway.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, but the last Spider-Man movie was all right, and the Megaverse, Multiverse, Superverse, Spideyverse movies have been excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding out hope. I'm kind of off the Marvel train at the moment, so maybe the kind of outlier Sony, not technically part of it, but maybe is sort of part of it. Maybe there's a bit more space for them to lure me back in.
Yeah, it's I feel very similar when I've never properly got into comics, and a large reason for that is at a certain point they get very, very complicated, and you have to like maintain focus every single week and like read everything to be fully in the loop, because they'll just make references. And now with comic books, at least, they'll throw in like a little asterisk and maybe explain what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
They will refer to like, by the way, this is referencing events that happened here if you want to find that out. But they don't do that in movies. They don't like, oh, by the way, this line that he just said is very relevant if you watch this show.
If you just pause this and cycle back through Disney Plus and find Iron Man 3, you will note this is a reference to...
Of course, now we have YouTube, but so yeah, YouTube takes care of that problem to a large extent.
Explain it all after you come out going, no idea, frankly. No idea.
Exactly, but it's after the fact.
So what we're both saying is, hope there's no homework. We can just go and see Madam Web without having to catch up on 9 different shows on Disney Plus that are all aggressively average.
Yes, but I think it's a homework after the fact, because obviously now with this spy universe, it's like, I need to keep up because otherwise I'll be lost.
That is true, and that sounds like an absolutely textbook place to seg into our feature presentation. Woo!
And now, our feature presentation.
Dodge this.
Yes, we are talking, as promised, about Tiger 3, the 3rd film in the Tiger franchise, the 5th film in the spy universe, the 3rd or 4th Indian action blockbuster that Emil and I have talked about on this podcast. And I thought, you know what? It's finally time to get someone who knows some shit on the podcast. So we've got another white guy from Europe to talk about Indian. I'm kidding. We've dug deep and we have asked a good friend of ours all the way from, while I sit in Mumbai, she is in Amsterdam with Emil. Her name is Nirvi Maru. She is a lecturer in media and communications. She is an improviser, and she is a real-life Indian. So she knows some shit about Indian culture and movies, and she can call us on all our stupid bullshit and dumb questions. Nirvi, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon. I have waited for years and years for this invitation, that when I would be deemed worthy, that my knowledge would be deemed worthy. So,
yeah.
And it's happening.
Well, you know, the 2 white guys were like, we probably know best. And then eventually we sort of realized maybe...
This is you still knowing the best. You're just sort of doing like a data check. You're just like, listen, we know, we just need you to be like, yes, you are right.
We've wandered around in the dark room long enough. Let's light the room and see what's actually there.
We're doing our best. I think that's how I would pitch it so far. Yeah. It's been a roller coaster ride, and it's been a very short ride since Emil and I hopped on. I think War was the first movie in our journey, right? Which is also part of the spy universe. So we hopped on the roller coaster at the right place. But, you know, there is quite a legacy of cinema to catch up on, and we've chiefly been watching movies where a lot of stuff explodes and Hrithik Roshan takes his shirt off. So I'm not sure that is really giving us like the full Indian cinema cultural perspective, and far be it from me to
satisfying one. You got to
put too much on your shoulders, but maybe you can just, you know, do a little bit more shading, join a few dots. In our discussion of another movie where someone takes their shirt off and a lot of things explode.
Absolutely.
No pressure, but please, can you represent 1 billion people?
It's big shoes to fill, but we're going to try our best.
I'm delighted that you're here. Now, ordinarily, I would force our guest or Emil to sum up the plot of whichever movie we watch. Sometimes this is a reasonable task. However, when we are talking about these mass entertainer masala style movies, it is invariably a very difficult task. Nirvi, would you like to take up the baton in attempting to sum up the plot of Tiger 3? I know.
Well, I don't know if Emil has informed you, but this was a very funny evening of my life. Because I showed up 25 minutes late for the movie because I was at the wrong party.
Unbelievable!
She was at the wrong cinema, though. Like,
what?
It's not... It wasn't carelessness. Well, it was, but like not in a, oh, is that the time? It was just carelessness. I'm like, I'm at the complete other side of the city.
So
okay, Emil, I will allow you to do the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then you can hand the baton to Nirvi. I'll even let you go to the interval if you feel like it, but then maybe you guys can tag team it.
Yeah, I would like collaboration. Yeah.
Okay. Because I think I exerted most of my energy in recapping Masala movies with Juwan, and I think I did an incredible job. I listened back to it, and I did very well. I think
you did. You did
what
well.
the plot of that movie is.
That was labyrinthine.
Yes, with a tiger. So it's relatively simple compared to Juwan and Patan even. Yes, we start off with just the setup of, hey, there's this city that when spies go there, they don't return. And so here's Salman Khan rescuing somebody and being the only spy to ever leave this city. And this spy that he rescues divulges all this secret information. I was like, oh, but there's one little twist that I didn't give you yet, and that's not in any of the files. Your wife is a traitor, and then promptly dies.
In as many words.
Yes. So, like, what usually would be a big twist in a movie somewhere in the third act, or like in the beginning of the third act, right? Opening like 15 to 20 minutes. That's where we get our first big action piece as he rides up a mountain on his motorcycle on this wooden path that's alongside it and gets shot at, and then jumps onto a helicopter. And then his son is sick. Then there's, I think, closely followed by the revelation of the enemy for this movie, leveraging that for
it's already getting a bit murky.
Yeah,
it's already getting murky.
Wait, what's in between that?
Nirvi, had you entered the premises at this point?
Yes. I think that this is like right after I entered at the point where he's been given the information that his wife is a traitor, but then we need to move the plot forward with a song, which I think is it the only song in the movie that I remember? Yeah.
Montage plot song.
Yeah, montage plot song. So we're moving the plot forward where he becomes suspicious of her. And so he's sort of like keeping track of her phone calls, and like whenever she goes into the garage, he like follows after her to see what she's putting away. And you always see that it always turns out that it's innocuous, like she's talking to the doctor or she's buying him presents and hiding them around the house, etc. So he's unable to sort of pinpoint if it's really true. And so he's living with this sort of anxiety and hesitancy. And then their kid, who now is, I'm uncertain, like if he was just always unwell, but we've discovered that he needs basically this medication once every 24 hours in order to live. And if like whatever the damage that his disease, if like he goes over 24 hours, he like sees and then eventually die. So we have this information, and then I think Tiger gets called to do a job, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because he has to take an asset, like an informant who has all this other information in, where was it? In Russia? In
Russia. St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg, yeah. In like the best outfit ever. I mean,
great disguise.
Oh yes, he's in one of his classic tiger disguises.
I was so happy I wasn't drinking anything. That was spit take worthy. I'm like, wait, you're a spy trying to blend into Russia, and this is the outfit you pick? You just decide to dress up like a Bruce Springsteen fan?
I mean, he just looked like someone who walked out of like the southern states of the United States, like some like hillbilly. And I was like, wow. And this is him blending in. Or
he's
like
a ginger lumberjack.
Which is absurd and at so many levels. But anyway, he's, they're attacked a lot. And then he basically tries to get the informant to be safe. But in the meantime, like obviously after 3 or 4 attacks, by the last one, he's like really in this hand-to-hand combat with like a very proficient spy. Who like he at some point has multiple opportunities to kill but doesn't because he recognizes that it's his wife.
Dun dun dun.
And and I think that's where the sort of the big part of the story starts falling into motion, because now it's like we've sort of discovered that his wife is on the opposite side of him, or the side that he's fighting for, and he doesn't fully realize why that is the case. So yeah, and then eventually, in the attempt of not trying to kill the other spy, he gets beaten over the head, and then is tied in this like weird basement and has a projector. And I just don't know how that technology actually works, because
Yeah,
I
none
was
of that
like,
made sense. That's great.
that was
You
like-
are a lecturer in media and communications.
and I was
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But even within the scene where they show the cameras, you're like, that's not where the shot was. Like, it's bad. It's bad enough when they do that with pictures in a lot of Hollywood spy movies, which they do all the time. The picture is always of the movie camera, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you couldn't be
yeah.
bothered to like take a couple steps to the right and take the picture.
This was like the bad guy had his own cameraman.
yeah, like with-
100%.
absolutely, and like great sound quality. We don't see any of these speakers or the microphone, but it was kind of stunning. But anyway, so he's having this conversation, and we realize that the villain is essentially holding his son's life at ransom, and therefore is making his wife, Tiger's wife, do his bidding. And
now
the
him,
goal,
yeah.
and the goal has always been that the two of them sort of come together with their powers combined, like sort of steal these codes for him. But his
That's
wife
right.
could drink-
Nuclear launch codes.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That was it.
I knew there
And
was
then-
something
Was it
in there.
bombs? Was it bombs? Was it gas?
Yeah,
No,
there were
that
some
was
codes
baton.
that are on this Chinese ship off the coast of the South China Sea or something like that.
A magical briefcase full of shiny gold.
And I imagine that my brain is attuned to holding this kind of detail. Like, Emil's
I
just
mean,
like,
yeah.
all right, that's what it was about.
Well, no, I was going. I remember all these moments. What was the plot exactly? Like, I think
Yeah.
they were after something, and they're being blackmailed throughout it until they
Yeah.
finally.
My
figure it
favorite
out, I
part of
guess.
the plot
Yeah.
sum ups of these movies is when I literally saw it today and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that already.
I was going
There's
to say,
just
it's,
so
at least it's
much.
been a week for me. Like, and I understand why. And we've had a lot of shows about Boom
Yeah.
Chicago, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's been a ton of information planted in my brain in the meantime. But yeah, that is the setup, which is, I guess, about the first hour and a half. I think.
We're almost at the halfway point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a lot to go.
Yeah, the rest of it is them figuring out how to
Yeah.
save the world and save their family.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I suppose the second half is if the first half is them winding up the toy, the second half is the toy zooming off.
Yeah,
Is that?
walking
It feels like a bad and a good analogy at the same time. It's set up and then delivery.
I've made a worse one this very episode. I made a terrible analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. The first half is a lot of setup and plot machinations, and the second half is a lot of action, I would say.
Yes.
Where again, as you said, it's not as this sounds so weird to say it, but I do believe it's true. Not as over the top as some of the other movies that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as convoluted.
It oddly feels more grounded when,
Yeah.
again, the opening sequence is not grounded at all, but it has moments of ungroundedness where Baton throughout it feels completely unhinged. Like there's not a moment in Baton where you go like, this is normal. But like even his weird outfit, like disguise as this hillbilly,
Yeah.
just in Russia for some reason. You're like, yeah, okay, that's I guess fine. That seems reasonable that somebody would do that or could get their hands on something like that or would attempt that, I guess. And like even the poison in his son's system that like, hey, this needs to happen every 24 hours seems sort of reasonable in a weird way throughout all the madness.
Could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this series, its MO is slightly more realistic in enormous air quotes, right? If
In enormous
Patan
air quotes.
is crazy over the top, War was crazy over the top. The first Tiger movie, I should have asked you this, Nirvi. Have you seen all the other Tiger movies?
I have not watched the second one. I watched the first one, and it's been a really long time. But
Yeah,
yes,
2012 it came out too.
Yeah, so it's it's been an age to say the least. I missed the second one completely, and then I wanted to watch the third one. And when I did walk in, I was first wondering, I'm like, should I have all this background? Like, should I have watched Tiger 2, to enjoy Tiger 3? But I think the difference now is, of course, there is. I know that there's some stacking on the plot. Like we at least know about some of these characters that show up, like the people who help him out, the tech guy and the guy who does the recce and stuff. but for the most part, like this blending of like the kind of the Marvel Avenger universe type blending has just started happening very recently. So I think that that's a very different angle that they're taking now. So those movies, I mean, even if you watch this as a standalone movie without the history, you'd be fine because they tend to drive the commonalities between them, I think, show up. So, I mean, and Emil can correct me if I'm wrong because I know that he's watched all the movies.
No, I think you nailed it.
Well, and also thought about like, hey, when it feels like this is sort of an after the fact universe, and as Patan is the first movie where the cameo happens, and that was this year. So it really feels like, hey, we got these two Tiger movies, and now we got this war movie. Hey, why not fucking throw these together and get some action stars going?
I think they said
stuff.
It was a universe, but the real evidence of any actual crossover wasn't until Patan, I think. And I saw Patan and didn't know who Tiger was. So
no, and it does not matter.
No, I was like, oh, this is cool.
They explain enough for you to enjoy, like, oh, this is an important person, in as much as, like, they just show his, like, shawl coming down the train. I was like, this is a big entrance. This is somebody. I don't know who this is.
No, I got to find out.
I've got to be excited about this. And if they, like, but even in this one, like, when the teams show up, I literally was like, oh, yeah, fuck, they had teams that also work together. It wasn't just them as a couple, you know, coming together and working together from these two different sides. Oh, yeah, there were two teams involved as well. But they explain all of that. Like, they'll get you up to speed.
It's true. I think you could go in, pun intended, raw on this one.
That's the agency.
And just to clarify.
That's why he said that.
And I think you'd be fine watching it as a standalone movie. But of course, there would be bits where you'd be like, I guess that's somebody, or does that
like at the very beginning when there's a flashback of Zoya and her dad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? It's not just a mentor, it's her father.
So dad.
Because her father said general, and then I caught that he died, and she claims that, you know, when the person who's the villain right now in the movie is supposed to be her mentor, her father had also coached at some point, I think.
That's right.
And therefore.
But because he says Zoya at some point, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it would make no sense if it was somebody else. And they
100%.
To be very good at that. Like, hey, there's a twist. And like, it's this person? Great. And which just like sounds like a bad thing. It's like, oh, so it's the most obvious choice. And like, yes, because there's so much happening. It has to be. Otherwise, you lose your marbles.
It's set in the past and it's a young girl. It's 100% going to be the main lady in it, right? Yeah. So thankfully it was.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of Tiger's entrance in Patan. He doesn't use his scarf to kill anyone in this movie.
I know.
It's almost like they forgot what his main weapon was.
It's kind of sad because that Patan
magical
sequence is
scarf.
incredible. Because he comes in with the scarf and a milkshake, I believe, which he hands to Patan. Like, well, I'll kick ass. You drink this. This is amazing. So he does all this wicked cool Indiana Jones type. Hey, I got a whip in my hand stuff.
Yeah,
and neither does it really happen in the other Tiger movies. To be fair.
No, I think he uses it a tiny bit, but not to the extent.
Not to the. This is an extension of my arm. Yeah.
Well, let's not backpedal. Float above. What am I doing? Sure. I'm asking you. Did you enjoy the movie in a umbrella style fashion?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%. There's so much weird stuff in there still. Not weird stuff, like exciting stuff. Because even walking out of it, as I said, I was like, oh, this feels, for some reason, this felt tamer than any of the other movies. And then I started, backtracking, going over the movies, like, wait, but he rode up a mountain, jumped into a helicopter, fell down, made his way completely unnecessary through this bell tower in Istanbul.
I totally forgot about that as well.
Yeah.
Just destroys it to make his escape.
Yeah, it's just history, mate. Don't worry about it. We'll rebuild it.
Yeah, but the action scene...
Put some apartments up.
So unnecessary.
That real estate is worth a lot of money.
Yeah. So there's still plenty of that in the movie. I've been thinking about this all week, trying to sort of piece together why it didn't feel as unhinged or more grounded, however you want to put it. Part of it is Salman Khan, who's less animated in his acting than like Shah Rukh Khan and Hrithik. I would say it's about the same as fucking Tiger Shroff, who also only has one face, and like I feel Salman Khan has a bit of that.
Yeah.
The first two Tiger movies, there's a smirk here and there, and like that's pretty much the extent of it. But it sort of limits his range also in fighting sequences, where like Shah Rukh Khan just goes off and like, oh, I'm going to be weird for this particular part of the movie, or I'm going to be super charming in this part, which really helps break up like a 3-hour, 2.5-hour movie. And I think that's the main thing. Like there is a lot of very exciting action stuff in this that if you were to sort of condense it into a Hollywood movie like feature length, it would be insanity. But just because, like, and as Nirvi also said, oh, there's only one song in the movie, and the credit song that I've now taken for granted, which I shouldn't. It feels like, oh, okay, this is sort of middle of the road, very enjoyable, 100% not a waste of my time, as A Haunting in Venice kind of was. Sorry, this was a callback to our opening.
It's not aggressively average. We know this.
Like, yeah, it's too fun and too exciting to be aggressively average. Like, they throw still too much at you for that, and too many, like, plot twists. That's why it's so easy to be like, yeah, in the opening 20 minutes, there's a big plot twist. Like, his wife is a traitor. That's a big thing. And it's sort of, yeah, that also happens, and this also happens, and this also happens.
I think, for me, it sort of feels like this one, while the first one was, like I said before, felt quite grounded and not as fantastical as a lot of sort of Bollywood action movies. And the second one, again, they kind of shrunk the nature of it, so it wasn't as globetrotty. It was a smaller plot. This one kind of feels like it exists in a post Pathan world. And even as I say that, I know that like War was around the same time as the second Tiger movie, maybe.
Yeah,
but it definitely has more of a crazy over the topness to it than the previous two, I think. And it feels more like the roads of the spy universe are beginning to connect in terms of tone. You know, it has the lunacy of the leaping into helicopters and he did snowboard over wolves in the last one. We've already mentioned that. That was also crazy, but in a slightly sort of different way.
It's crazy how fast you acclimate to this. Like, to be fair, he was being chased by actual wolves.
Actual wolves.
For some reason, not
CGI destruction, the enormous CGI environments, the sort of whole set pieces that take place seemingly on a green screen that in my memory, didn't exist as much in the previous two, seem more at home here, like they did in Pathan and War, even though it was a while ago since I saw War. I do remember that being a lot of crazy OTT stuff.
Oh, 100%. But War is still one of my favorites because it's relatively cohesive as well.
Also, it was our first exposure, I think. So maybe we have a special place in our hearts for it.
I mean, I have rewatched War.
Have you? Okay, fair play.
Yeah, I think because it's an easier, more popcorn watch than RRR. Like, R gets quite heavy at points, and War never really does. It's just if you grew up on 80s Hollywood blockbuster, movies, then like it fits right in that alley of just dudes being super cool. Like that moment in War for me where I go like, this is exactly why I like it, is where Riddick and Tiger are having a conversation where he's like about if he's on the team or not, because he's been auditioning essentially for this SWAT team or army team or whatever, this RAW team, and he says, you're in, but I've seen that you can't really look out of your left eye, and you got to make sure you don't ever lie to me again about that type of stuff. And it's all super fucking macho. I'm like, oh, come on, you're on the team, but at a price. All right, I'm gonna trust you. And then it just cuts to Jai Shankar, which is this glorious, beautiful song, where they're dancing in this colors and. That switch, that's exactly what I enjoy about these movies. And what, like, I felt like, Tiger, it maintains the same tempo, except for a few places.
Yeah, it didn't have an OTT R&B music video in it.
No. And I live for the Fedora song. It's like, it's great. Where, like in Patani, he comes down the stairs, changes hats twice. It's like, that's the type of stuff that really, like, breaks it up for me. Yeah, that's all I can say about the enjoyment of it.
Sure.
I have some more plot stuff or moments.
I think we've covered the plot to a degree that and nobody could possibly have any more questions about. Nerves, what did you make of it?
So for me, when I watch these kind of movies, I think the thing I realize, like when I think about War or Pathan, and then we juxtapose it with movies like Jawan, or RRR, as mentioned, is that I've mentioned this to Emil before, that there's a stylistic choice because, like, for example, RRR is actually a South Indian movie, so it's not a Bollywood movie. I believe it was dubbed in Hindi eventually, but it's basically a Telugu language film. And this is so what we see in Jawan and RRR have a lot more similarity in terms of, like, also the issues covered and the number of plot points, like side plots that you have. Versus like what Siddharth Anand does, who's Pathan War, the director. You see these choices in terms of doing the crazy and then trying to streamline it versus, and then the Tiger universe is, I don't remember his name, but he's a different director. And then so you can sort of see these choices being made. And for me, I sort of like notice that now when I watch movies. So in a lot of these movies, outside of the big stars that carry the marketing, people also go on to see a certain kind of director and the choices that they make. So with Jawan, that was absolutely true. It's a very famous director. He's known for his batshit crazy choices and sort of the amount of money that gets put into like the production of these kind of films. And so as an Indian person, especially from the industry, these are things you consider when you go to watch a movie and you kind of have a feeling of what to expect a little bit. You're like, there are these directors, Abbas Mustan, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they were also very known to doing a certain kind of film. And we realized that creating all these sequels, so when Tiger first came out, it was to be able to create like sequels, but the idea of combining these universes wasn't up until very recently. So it even happens I encourage you guys to watch the Dawn series, where
I just watched Dawn too.
So yeah, but so that's yeah, but yeah. So, but do you see like the different like stylistic choices?
Oh yeah,
you can see that it's like it is still a sequel movie. They do have Dawn 3 coming out, but now it's going to be played by Ranveer because Pathan is now Shah Rukh Khan, so he can't play Dawn anymore. Because if you wanted to create the space to be able to combine these universes, so it's been recast to a younger actor. Like Dawn is like the kind of James Bond of the Indian film industry or the Bollywood industry. So.
Is he like a cool criminal? Because he is like he is a bad guy, but sort of doing good work.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Robin Hoodish that you're like you're a thief, but you're on the good
I
side.
have a coat. Yes, type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So not dissimilar to Javan in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sort of like rogue. This rogue spirit, but with a good heart. Like it comes from the right intention. And there's so much sort of, and that frees you up a little bit. Like unlike with Tiger, who's definitely like, I'm just the good guy and I'm just the police officer.
I can cook. Yeah,
I can cook. Very wholesome.
That's his thing.
That's a big thing in all of the movies that like he's a good cook.
Yeah, that's
true.
Like in the first one, I think Katrina Kaif says something like "for an Indian man," which I remember watching, going like, I don't know if I can laugh at this. What is this? What's the context for this?
There's a lot of kind of like
cooks.
Pakistan, India context that is enormously lost on Emil and I suspect.
Yeah, but it is something that even I think the most rational of people in India, I realize, sort of feel emotionally about. Like it's a visceral thing, which is why like right now we just finished playing the World Cup yesterday and we lost abysmally. But
commiserations.
Yeah, thank you.
Although I have just recovered from the Diwali fireworks, I was like, if they win, I'm never going to sleep.
Yeah, it's true. But for a lot of Indian people, like it becomes okay as long as we beat Pakistan in the World Cup. It doesn't then eventually they're having the final, like that's just sort of, there is this internal sort of like code that it's very black and white. And you see it come out in these films. It's kind of like how the United States treats all of Russia. Like it's always the villain.
Nirvi has received an audio upgrade. you think that in a more globalized world where we do have conversations about like, a whole people aren't bad. Like it's just their governments that are bad or, and then the way they conduct themselves. But it's just that feeling of India, Pakistan is just like, it has an emotional knee-jerk reaction in most Indian people because of the way we grew up with this history. And I think eventually we rationalize it, but, and therefore they can still use it as a very strong like bait system that if you're like, we want the bad guy, like the bad guy is never the United States. It's always just, it's either the British or it's Pakistan, oftentimes in these movies. So, yeah. But while it does seem that, Pakistan are the de facto baddies, the sort of overall message of the movie is, could we just kind of put it all to one side? Can we just do some peace? Yes. You guys? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very strongly so, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Like I would hope, a kid would come out of that movie not going, Pakistan, they're always the baddies. But like, well, it seems like there are people on both sides that actually kind of want this to be okay. And maybe it could be peace. Yes. I don't know. Or maybe I'm very naive. No, I actually think, and I think that Tiger did a good job this time of sort of highlighting that it's not the people, it's the governments, right? Like, like I mentioned that oftentimes previously this complexity, this nuance is lost because it's just India, Pakistan. But now it's like, the people in charge might not want this, but there's a whole nation of people who'd be happy to be at peace and want progress in those kind of relationships. And I think that came out actually fairly clearly in this movie, which I don't think a lot of other movies that sort of have that tone or that sort of paradigm to them where it's like we're at conflict and it's an enemy, to make sure that we very clearly specify that the people of the country might want something different from these few bad apples in the government. Yeah.
Yeah, they make a big old point with the teams that show up, because they're at first sort of apprehensive of each other, and I'm like, but we can fix this if we work together. And the Pakistani prime minister has that very clear message. It's at the beginning, and it's the whole crux of the final third act of like, well, we have to get this message out before somebody with a personal vendetta destroys all of that. And the scary thing is like in the movie universe, but in real life as well, like that can happen if like can just wipe all of that out, the trust. And especially because in that third act of the movie, it all plays out in this government building, but the media don't have access to it. So it does all play out in the dark, and it works really well. It worked for me really well anyway, going like, so even if they win, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good outcome, because we don't know what the story is going to be coming out of this. I was like, that's actually really good and smart to play it out like that. So like, yeah, you can fight all you want, but if the story that comes out is different, it doesn't matter. Then you are a traitor or a bad guy forever. And potentially give out the nuclear codes in this case, like the movie bit comes into play there.
It's quite a big issue handled in a movie that involves a man jumping off a cliff into a helicopter from above,
Yeah, sure, but same with Jawan.
I mean, Jawan also was like, these are actually real issues. Like a mirror being held up.
The whole story of Jawan. And when you say that, I was like, so it's a political movie? Like, yeah, kind of, but watch it and you'll be like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's kind of like they've squished the drugs into the piece of cheese before feeding it to the dog, right?
Now you're talking my language.
Is that another good analogy or no? It sweetened the pill.
Kinda. I mean, specifically with Jawan, I felt like, you've done all of this so you can justify the 5-minute speech that you're going to give at the end. Because if you don't do any of that, people might be like, look at you and your high horse. But it's like, well, we've been entertained for 2.5 hours. Please have your say.
There was a bit in this where a sort of orchestra of children appeared towards the end and then started playing a song. And I was like, I don't know what this song is, but if I had to take a guess, would it be the national anthem of Pakistan?
It was India's national anthem.
It was India's national anthem. Okay.
And that was, I looked at Emil at that point. I was like, I'm feeling extreme conflict within myself because I was like, should I stand up? Like,
I was going to say, I had to stand up before the movie to listen to that. Yes. I should have recognized
you watch movies in India. Yeah, now
Wait, what?
Now you have to stand up to the national anthem.
They play the national anthem before the movie?
Yeah. Only in Bombay or only in Maharashtra. Nowhere else.
Oh, okay.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I just assumed it was.
Nope, it's not everywhere.
I mean, I'm still at the point where I'm so new here that I assume everything that happens in this state that is the size of like half of Europe that happens everywhere in the country. Extraordinary.
No.
I'm going to look like a right ding dong when I go to a cinema in the north, and I'm all ready to stand up at the beginning.
And you're like, guys, they just started the movie. What was that?
What happened? I was ready to watch that sort of GIF just repeating of a flag waving from 1983 that they couldn't get any new video of.
I mean, they do have some digital versions. I will say that they do try to change it up every now and then. So you've probably got their 1983 version, but there is a 2007 version that's like a really bad animation.
Oh. Well, this time I didn't get the same no smoking advert that I'd seen at almost every other movie I've seen either. So it was, this kept me on my toes a little bit, which is nice.
PSA. This is what will happen to your lungs.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very well putting that there, but then have you been outside in Mumbai, you guys? Like, I don't think people smoking cigarettes is the thing we really need to worry about on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, larger issues and probably not for me to comment upon.
Are you British?
There's a couple of things. Yes.
Maybe. And I'm Dutch, so we should really shut the fuck up about.
Don't worry. Soon enough, I will be a soldier in a movie who is brutally killed, I'm sure. So it will all come around.
I mean, honestly, after this movie, I think I've sort of more finalized my dream. I just want to be a dancer in the 10th row of one of these dance numbers. Because you don't have to be a good dancer in that particular part in the 10th row. You don't. You're just a body. But just to be on that set and
I
be
feel
like
your doing dance is a massive disservice, but sure.
No. I mean, look at the 10th row in these dance numbers. Like the first row needs to be great and good. What happens after that? Watch Rajesh Shankar. Like there's a great hey, what are these people doing? They're just sort of hanging around in these costumes and not really doing anything, but it fills out real nicely and it cuts away too quickly to be really noticeable unless you're an idiot like me who's just like, what are they doing in the background?
You're like, should that be my dream job now?
Yeah. When I watch these movies now, I look for the white guys who have very few lines and think, I think I could do that. For example, in this movie, the doctor, I was like, who's that guy? And you know what? It's the guy from RRR.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Ray Stevenson's sort of snooty British sidekick who's, not a hooking. That guy.
Yeah. Okay. Really?
It's him.
Gosh.
And yet he's in this movie for he's got 2 lines in this movie. I mean, fair play. Why wouldn't you? But I mean, I'm coming for you, Edward Sonnenblick. That's what I'm saying. You guys, I did already hint at this, but Nirvi, this is some hot off the press news. I am that guy this week. I was that guy in a Bollywood movie.
Oh my! Oh my!
Very, very tiny part.
It's happening.
Very, very tiny part.
Holy smokes!
There are no small parts.
They might come out. We still don't know. But I did get to do my scene opposite the stars of the movie.
Can you divulge who you were on set with?
I suppose. I don't think I haven't signed an NDA. I mean, I'll cut it out if not. It was Alia Bhatt. She's the big name.
Oh,
yeah.
She's lovely, isn't she?
So we're BFFs now, as you would imagine.
Hell yeah.
Girl.
I think it's an action movie as well. There was no action on my days, but from what I know about the movie, which is really all that IMDb will tell me, a short sum up of the plot, it is an action movie. So I'm very excited to see it.
But listen, this is the beginning, because who knows, in War 5, you have 4 lines. Maybe you're in a song.
I could be in the 10th row dancing.
You absolutely could. You're just like, I can double in, I can do a few lines, but also be a background dancer because you're very multi-talented. So,
so versatile.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is great
genuinely,
for you.
Really, very exciting, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not trying to hijack my own podcast to talk about my film career, but it's a touchstone moment.
But hey, cameos is where it's at. Because can we talk a little bit spoilers now?
Yeah, let's get into Spoiler Town.
Deep spoilers starting in 3, 2, 1.
I feel like going into this movie, if you've seen Patan and some of the others, you're going to have a hope in your heart. If you haven't, then it probably doesn't really matter. So your degree of spoilerness, I think, can go from nothing to only a little bit, really.
Yeah, this is true. And I think at that point, forgotten about that wish. Trying to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, it was this just glorious moment. Also because I think it was one of the first cameos where I knew who it was. So it was double the excitement. Because with the first Tiger cameo on Patan, you're like, well, I'm excited because clearly this is an important person in whatever universe we're creating. But now it's like, I know this guy, I've seen this guy, and I know why he's here. And
I was so excited.
Very, very excited. When fucking Patan himself shows up, in the most glorious, in my mind, sort of Bollywood way of this super secure prison. There is a mining cart that goes right by it for easy access and escaping, but here he is, who throws a little a cricket ball that's also a Bluetooth speaker playing his song from the movie, which is just the fucking coolest. It's like Batman throwing a smoke bomb that just goes da-da-da-da, and then just smoke everywhere. It's like, that'd be the greatest entrance of all time, and he does it. That whole sequence after that is amazing. Their little bromance is something to behold. It's not as good as War, I think, yet. It's a different thing. I think they need to sort of deepen it out a little bit, if that's the thing. Because right now, their bromance is mostly, we should run.
It's just, their bromance is, we're just two hard spies, really. That's sort of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he arrives, and I was like, amazing. Wait, is he actually on set with Salman Khan, though? Because they were sort of not quite in the same shot. And I was like, is he just going to kind of pop in and then disappear? And then no. And then there is an enormous action scene with both of them, which is very enjoyable. And I think the most ludicrous part of the movie, I would say, where just like physics doesn't really count. And I think this sort of plagues the whole movie and the prior movies. Every soldier in this movie can't shoot a gun at the good guys, and a lot of times at all. Like there's a point in that section where soldiers just abseil down the side of the bridge, not even holding their guns, so that Tiger and Patan can just mow them down one at a time. Right? Yeah. It's like there's just no jeopardy.
And also, like, don't you love that? Like, but when the good guys are like single-handedly machine gunning them down single hand, I was like, there's recoil if you're shooting a machine gun.
Not in this world.
There is a sort of bad guy lemming problem in some of these movies that remind me of like Schwarzenegger's Commando and movies of that era where it's just the guy shooting the guns like and bad guys just running into the way of the bullets for several minutes.
Yeah, it's sort of like that, but it's also like, I mean, to Emil's point about the bromance, I haven't watched War again in a really long time, but the thing is also sort of knowing what the ethos of these characters, not only who they are in the movie, but also what they are as stars. Because the ethos of Tiger Shroff and Hrithik Roshan is very different from that of a Salman Khan and a Shah Rukh Khan. There's like seniority, and it's just the crystallization of your perception, because they can play all these different roles, but your inherent belief is that they're going to be the person that they are.
Right.
Like it's just sort of, and so it's different. So even in terms of like, if they were to play this bromance out, in my perception or my prediction would be, it won't be deeper than what we've seen, maybe like for a longer period of time, but it would be in these sort of combat situations rather than just them sitting and having a conversation. Mostly because they are just those kind of stars, because you want to hold the room like for in those sort of like emotional or plot moments. It tends to be like I'm the superstar and then you're here for it. But watching them two fight together, which is brilliant, of course, that is where they're like, and he explains it also in the movie, because their general ethos is that Salman Khan is basically like the Terminator. He just like rams through everything. Like he's just, punching his way through walls, while like Shah Rukh Khan is more of the wily one, that he tries to strategize a little bit more, like has all these like gimmicks and plot things happening in the background because he's more brain. So he's like, I'm more brain and you're more brawn. And that's just their style. And that's how it's just always going to be.
I think that's really interesting, coming to this as someone who doesn't know the star power nature of it, because I read something quite interesting earlier that sort of said, say what you want about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but each of those characters is so different and well defined, and you can tell them all apart, even from how they dress, let alone whether they, have web shooters or can travel through time or control people's minds or whatever it is. Whereas at this point in the spy universe, to the layman who doesn't know all the actors from their personal lives, from their star power in India, all the characters are a bit like just a hard spy guy. Like, what is the difference between Pathan, Hrithik, Tiger? They're all just sort of ripped and spies. But what really is the difference between them if you don't know them as the stars and everything they've done? Like, okay, maybe he's brawn and he's brains, but that's a sort of level of looking at it that I just don't have, I guess, at this point, which is really interesting to hear.
Yeah, and that's why I said that. Like, I think that for the audience in the know, people who already are aware of this, for them it doesn't make a difference. Like, so they don't need that kind of like manufacturing of that kind of detail character, because they're like, I'm Salman is going to be a spy, and then Shah Rukh is going to be a spy, and then to me those two things are like black and white. Like, it's very different. Even though exactly the similarities we see is like they're all like ripped, fully shredded. All of them can dance. They all have like a female lead or like romance and all this other fun stuff. And they're just sort of, but even up until I said it, and they also sort of spell it out in the movie right now in Tiger 3, I would not expect any other audiences to actually see any difference between them, because I feel that way when I watch like Hollywood movies, that I don't see like as much of a nuance that perhaps other people who are better acquainted with the actors or the choices that they've made in the past, that you sort of see reflected in how they bring a character to life. It's very much with the superstars in India, I think that it's perfectly okay to just give them a name. And then the rest is like, your brain is already filling in the gaps. It's true.
It's just like Tom Cruise is called Dave in this movie.
Yeah, like with Shah Rukh Khan, it's when he's going to play like a heavy romantic lead, like in a rom-com, he's also given a certain kind of name. Like, I've had this conversation with Emil that if you watch some of the older like 90s rom-com like family drama movies, he's always Raj or he's always Rahul. And you just, I know what to entirely expect from this movie just by knowing his character name in scene 1.
Wow.
He's not going to be fighting bad guys and like, it's not going to be like a machine gun fight. He's going to do some hand-to-hand combat because he's trying to save the modesty of the woman he loves. That's it.
Incredible.
There's a large overlap in wrestling, I just realized, in that sense, because
he's taking it back to wrestling. We did it.
Always.
Who had an hour into the podcast in the pool?
I was going to say, I've held it in for quite a while this episode. But with wrestlers, they have different gimmicks throughout their career, or they tend to anyway, like multiple ones at the beginning, trying to figure it out. And then if you're Dwayne Johnson, you hit up on The Rock, but he started out as Rocky Maivia. So that is a very nice and simple format of like Rocky Maivia, The Rock. We can see that transition, but the character does change because he was a good guy when he entered, then he became a bad guy, but then he was so cool that he became a good guy again. And because it's a very slow sort of transition, the fans will absolutely know the differences between those characters and why. But from a surface level, you're like, yeah, but that's still Dwayne Johnson. It's just a different haircut. What's going on? But can be dramatic moments with this dude named Mick Foley, who was Mankind, but also Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack was just in Japan and did all these death matches. And there's an incredible moment where he is Mankind standing on the stage and like, you're right, I'm not good enough to fight you. Whatever his opponent is, not important for you guys. But I have a friend who will. And then he just takes off his shirt with a Cactus Jack shirt underneath, and his opponent reacts like, oh shit, no, not Cactus, no, oh, I thought I was fighting Raj. It's like, no, it's not, you're fighting somebody else.
Yeah.
And there's no distinct difference between even those two characters, because this guy Mick Foley just puts his body on the line and bumps around all over the place. But we know there's a difference. There's slight little moments where like, yeah, Mankind handles this difference because he's a tortured soul, and Cactus Jack just wants punishment. Even though in a random match that I will show you, that will not show up at all.
Kind of works, Emil. I got to say, in this movie, although Salman Khan is the name above the title, Katrina Kaif, I've probably mispronounced that, does finally get, I would say, almost equal footing.
Yes.
You know, the first movie was like half a romantic drama of them meeting, and then the second movie, she got to do a bit of fighting, but then in the finale, she was like locked up in a pit while he was just shooting everyone for ages.
Yeah.
And I think finally in this one, she gets to be like super hard and shoot people.
I said this after we walked out of the movie. This was like, this shouldn't have been called Tiger. This was her movie. Like, she does the most ass kicking and most creative ass kicking.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. So we're noticing over time the differences in the trend as well. Like, we're seeing these movies sort of update their structure, their basic constructs. Also, are just sort of like making it now to 2023. That you're like, you have a very strong female lead where she's just not arm candy, and she's not the one that you're just saving, and she's not here just for the songs. She's just a very important. She's very important to the plot, and if anything, that this movie she does some extremely. She's very much like I was like, oh, we've created our own like Lara Croft, because she does a hell of a job in this movie.
She really does.
Yeah. So.
And she was great in the other ones, but like you said. We'll just put her over here while he does some fighting.
Yeah.
Here it was almost the opposite, where she was kicking ass, and like, but he's over here with just one person. Just
yeah, she gets to do some really great stuff in this. And we didn't talk about the spoiler, which is the sort of post credits, mid credits, where it's almost like a Marvel level superhero introduction.
Way better. Look, with Marvel, we just get Sam Jackson showing up. Hey, do you want to be an Avenger or not?
So he's talking about this guy who's like the hooded figure. He's just, I guess, a tiny action scene where he beats up a whole load of people, pulls the hood off. It's Hrithik Roshan.
I was so excited.
I
was so excited. Because then it hit me that obviously I knew this, but this was sort of the practical like showing of it. Like, no, this is happening, of all these people coming together in one movie at some point.
So that's my next question is that possible? Because a lot of the chat around RRR was like, you rarely get two stars of this caliber in a movie together. And so can you get Hrithik, Salman and SRK to headline a movie together? Can they be equal billing? Is that possible?
I don't know about equal billing, but I think, of course, like the next movie that Hrithik will be in, they're likely to have meaty parts, like, at least action sequences with the other two as well, or they might show up like one after the other. The fact, even just sort of trying to get, I mean, for the longest time, trying to get Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan in the same movie was unheard of. Like in the industry, everyone knew it was impossible. There were camps, like they were like you're either on the Shah Rukh camp or the Salman camp.
Whoa.
And so, because there was that sort of ego around that, I am the superstar and you don't want to share that spotlight. But of course, everybody likes money. This is lucrative for everybody. Like if you sort of now try to blend these universes, what will it look like? I don't know if you guys have heard of Amir Khan, but like he was I'm going to say like up until like a decade ago, his name was said in the same breath with Salman and Shah Rukh. So the three Khans that rule Bollywood. So there's Amir, Shah Rukh, and Salman. And they all three do very different types of movies. And so the rise of these kind of like crazed out action movies has been recent. It's more of a feature of this last decade. And you see it because you see that it's just we're going back to more of the masala film, like gratuitous violence movies, because that's the thing, it works. Like, and then bringing in having them work for these like smaller sequences together is just like people. So now we have crossover of the fan base of Salman and Shah Rukh, because as a Shah Rukh fan, you want to go even for those 10 minutes and watch him in this movie with Salman.
Right.
And so now you've suddenly, like, what you believed was just a piece of the pie, you've opened it up so much for yourself. And now you have Hrithik that you'll have join the situation. So even the actors have started looking at it that way because it just makes commercial sense to do it. Mm-hmm. So to equally, like, I think triple headline it, I don't think it's around the corner. It might eventually happen if we realize that it makes a lot of commercial sense to do so, because that's what these new crossovers are showing us based on their numbers. But definitely strong, like heavy sequences with the two of them involved, because you want to exert all these fan bases that are so loyal.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, because right now it's Tiger versus Baton, which I'm sure is like a very similar, like, wait, you're the enemy? Well, we're going to fight. But I think Hrithik is scheduled to show up in that as like a cameo. But before that, we get War 2.
Yeah, so they're not all going to be in it all the way through, but maybe he's just in it for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, once they gain the confidence, like, that's why I was so excited, going like, oh my God, are we going to get Hrithik and Shah Rukh Khan just dancing together? Because
that is wholly possible, yeah. I mean, I think that is absolutely possible. A different universe with a lot of these, one of the movies with these like crossovers is... I don't want to open a new can of worms, but I will.
Quick, go to Action Replay, Simon, before we go another hour.
That you should check out the whole universe of Salman's Dabangg series. So he was, and then, and so basically there's this whole like where he plays a cop, and then there are all these like cop movies, which have this crazy like violence. It's silly. There are lots of great songs, but it's less this crazy spy universe versus like it's more contained in this like smaller town, and you have like one politician that you're fighting against, and you're sort of like he comes to threaten your family. And now then you have Ajay Devgan, Salman Khan, you have Akshay Kumar. So all these other actors who are actually fairly big names, obviously they don't compete with Salman and Shah Rukh, but all played these kind of cops in small towns who are fighting their politicians. And then there's one movie in Suryavansham, they all come together and are fighting these baddies off. And so the idea isn't unheard of, but it's happened at a much smaller scale with like in comparatively speaking, smaller actors. And we've sort of progressively seen that this works. We're going to shortly see a lot of the leading women coming together, right? Like the Deepikas with the Katrinas come together because you want to exert that fan base. Right? We're going to have Priyanka Chopra show up to things. So Priyanka Chopra may not show up to a Bollywood movie anytime soon, but but that kind of stuff. So this is all on the horizon. It would only make sense that perfectly reasonable for you to sit in a movie and be like, yes, which one of the superstars are going to make a cameo now?
Yeah.
Because the cop thing I just recently showed up on my Instagram feed where I was like, what is this?
You
delightfully
have a full little world to explore, Emil. There's so much fun stuff, and they're very fun movies, and it's very ridiculous, and you'll have a great time.
It looks like it, yeah.
And great
the
songs.
Algorithm knows you.
I'm so happy about that too. I think I'm fully on board with the algorithm now. It's like, please feed me the stuff.
I came out of this movie going, I am ready for the Spy Universe Avengers. Whenever that's coming,
Yeah.
I'm on board. Sign me up. I'm there.
Yeah.
Gang. I feel like there's another hour of our chat to go, but reality dictates that we have to think about wrapping this up. Before we do, though, I'm going to take us to an action replay moment. Emil, do you want to start and probably pick the one that I'm going to pick?
You do this every time. I don't think I've ever picked the same one as you.
That's true, actually. I think there's so many good bits to pluck from.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just also like a little personal moment where you go like, oh, I just like this for me. Because I thought about just the Patana entrance. It's like, I could rewatch that any day and be happy.
Yeah.
Like Nirvi will attest to this. I will force people to watch the Riddick's entrance in War. Just showcase like, this is what you're missing. It's incredible. He just walks out of a helicopter. That's green screen in. But I mean, I don't know.
Dem abs,
it's not
that
action-y,
hair,
but
that slow-mo, that CGI helicopter. There's a lot to choose from.
Hard. It's the same with Jawan. It's like, I will tell people about the motorcycle slip and lighting the cigar, throwing it in, kicking it into the oncoming trucks. But then even that little moment where he plays his own dad and there's an explosion that pushes him back behind a shield. Incredible. Such an incredible moment. Doesn't need to be in there, but it's in there. And thank you.
That just reminded me of a not dissimilar bazooka shield moment in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't in the running, but now could make it into the action replay moment.
I think it's an it's very understated, but I really want to watch this moment again, and I've thought about it a lot since. It's not grand, but it's where he makes C4 out of his buttons.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I did so much research on like how is that even in any universe is that possible?
I literally had no idea what was happening. I was like, how has he got explosives? Did he make he squished up a battery in his hand and it made a bomb? What happened?
And then he took his buttons. Oh my god!
Buttons and a little bit of water.
And
I still don't get it. But that's an incredible moment that again I'd forgotten.
I genuinely can't stop thinking about it. And if it comes on Netflix, I'm just going to be like, I want to watch this really closely because they could have just let it be. They could have just been like, oh, maybe he like stole something or like one of the other soldiers left something behind and he did something with it. This was so heavily like contrived and thought through that it's like it's sitting with me when I'm like, oh my, and then just eating soup.
He
and I'm like,
fully MacGyvered it, but in a way where I don't understand what he did.
But which also then attests to like, okay, I'm getting confused because Salman's not that kind of guy to build a bomb because that's a Shah Rukh move. And then and now he did this, and now I'm just so like. The whole time. So that's my action replay moment where I was like, it's small.
Great choice, Nerves. Great choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick I guess not as big as Shah Rukh's entrance, but not as small as the crazy MacGyver moment. But it was a bit that made me laugh out loud in the way that I love to do sometimes in these super OTT movies, where there's a sort of bunker invasion and Katrina is going mad and like karateing people up and shooting everyone. She does loads of cool moves, but there's one bit where she like leaps onto a guy's shoulders. She's hanging backwards with two guns and he spins around and it's all in slow-mo and she just kind of like just mows down a whole load of the lemming bad guys that cannot operate their weaponry and are waiting to be slaughtered.
She's the most efficient shooter too.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Love
one
that.
bullet, one person, you're gone.
Love that.
There's so many moments where Salman Khan and the main bad dude were like, just kill each other. What are you waiting for? Why you keep talking?
Yes.
She literally has a moment right before that where she just within 5 seconds kills 5 people. It's like, I'm done with this. We're not talking. Ding, 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 boom. You're gone.
We discover the other bad guy and we realize he's a double agent or whatever. And then she just, there's no dialogue like, oh, you've betrayed me. She just takes a gun, shoots him in the head. That's it. It's over. It was wild. I was like, that is so fucking efficient. It was so great.
I was at the same time like, wow, okay, fair play. He deserved it and he got it. But then I was like, oh, what? They don't get to fight? He doesn't get to like really take a beating? It's just like, nope, see you later, mate. Done. Got other stuff to get on with.
Yeah. It's just like, I have a gun. I'm going to shoot you. Where Salman Khan does the exact opposite in the big fight scene. He was like, yeah, we have guns, but I'm going to put them down. Even though there's machine guns everywhere, and they get back to it in like 10 seconds. Like, yeah, this was a bad idea. Let's start using our guns again. we should be more efficient. But then there's a whole sequence where both of them have machine guns, and like the bad guy is just shooting at him point blank and missing on the floor when he's rolling around.
That is also another moment that I was like,
oh shit,
ludicrous, but I love it.
Great.
Yes, they are having like a sort of John Wick gun fu in front of each other moment, but with machine guns, which is like, like Tiger is just rolling out of the way of a machine gun that is above him. I don't know. I was on board. That final fight was pretty good. I like that. Like that a great deal.
Now make like a Christmas present and wrap it up.
All I will say is, I think, and this seems to go contrary to a lot of what I've read online, I think this is my favorite Tiger movie. I think it goes, for me, 3, 1, 2. I don't know why, but it just tickled me. This one, I liked it. I managed to swallow a lot of the things that were super ludicrous or OTT CG, and I just went along for the ride, and I had a really lovely time.
We're breaking Simon down. I love it. Slowly getting him on board.
I mean, I've got a lot of notes here, but we can skip over that. Nirvi, thank you so much for bringing your gargantuan knowledge
Let's do it again.
to our nascent journey. Does that make sense? If people want to find you online, is that something they could do?
I mean, you can find me on Instagram with my handle, which is nirv.e. And I actively avoid people on LinkedIn.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I would say we're not really a LinkedIn show. No worries about that.
This was so much fun. I had a blast. I just really like talking about movies, and Bollywood is chef's kiss.
Yay! Emil.
I mean, same. On Instagram, fireside.panda is the only one you should follow for unhinged slides that I make for Boom Chicago shows every now and again.
I love it. If you, listener, would like to follow the pod, we're on Twitter at Dodge This Pod. I'm on all of the above at Simon Fielder, including Threads, now that I'm outside the EU where it's banned. or not live yet, or I don't know, litigiously caught up in the courts. You can follow me on Threads. If you love the pod loads, there's a link down below where you can support us with real earth money. All of that gets fed back into all of the associated costs that come along with making a podcast every couple of weeks. We'll be back with more action in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Nirvi. Goodbye!
And Jai Hind.
Please stand for the national anthem.
Guys, I'm not wearing pants.
Don't say that.